So I have watched Mufasa, and to put it lightly, it's not good. It's not good. But there is one good thing to come out of all of this, yes, believe it or not, and that is the logging bonuses in Twisted Wonderland. Heck yes.
Twisted Wonderland.
So because the movie was out in theaters, the players in the game could receive some things, inside the game. And there was a special thing on the shop where you could get a SR key, and then you could pick a character of your choosing to get an SR card from them, from one of the guys in the Savannah Claw dorm, which is the dorm that's based on the Lion King, right? And so I really like Jack, and I thought, well, I'm gonna get one of his SR cards then. And I went ahead and chose the Halloween card, which is from the big events of Halloween that happened a couple of years ago. And I just really love the pirate outfit and the pirate design. It's just so good. This is so good. It's so well thought of. And I just really liked the design of that card. I really liked it. And I was looking at it and I thought, wow, this is really good. I want to draw this. Okay, so first things first, I think we should talk about this, which is, as you can see, I traced the art. Yes, oh my goodness, the T word. I traced it. Oh my goodness. Yes, I traced. Basically, there was a good reason for this, and it was because I wanted to be able to do line art and to paint without having to worry about anatomy and proportion and all of that. I didn't want to draw this again just for the sake of line art and painting, because that's what I wanted to practice, right? I don't really do things digitally. I draw traditionally most of the time, so I'm not really good in digital illustration. And I thought this was a good chance for me to study a little bit of line art, to do just that, to focus on that, and to also focus on painting and rendering, which is something that I'm terrible at. But I think I'm getting better the more I do it. Wow, shocker. So basically what I did is that I got the original illustration and I started doing just the line art. Now, like I said, I didn't want to worry about anatomy or anything like that. I didn't want to draw this in another pose as well, because then I would have to get a reference and get everything proportionally correct. And like I said, it would be a hassle because I just wanted to focus on line art and painting. So I just grabbed the original illustration and I went over it. And the thing here is that I was working on my phone. Now my phone is a normal phone, it doesn't have a pen, which means that it doesn't have pressure sensitivity. So I did all of this in Medibang Paint on my phone for Android, and I decided that, you know what, there are brushes in Medibang that have sort of weight variance to them, but I wanted to try something different, so I did this method that I've seen a couple of times, which is basically you do a line without any variance. You pick a round brush, simple round brush, no weight variance, no nothing. You do the line art a little bit thicker. In my case, I was doing, I think, in 8 pixels. And then you go over it with the eraser and you erase some parts of it. And that creates the weight variance, because then some parts are going to be thicker and some parts are going to be thinner. And yeah, it takes a long time to do that, sure. But honestly, I thought it was really fun. I had a lot of fun doing that. I had a lot of fun doing that, even though it took a long time because I had to go through the line art twice, I guess, because I went in with just the brush and then went in again with the eraser, right? But thanks to this, it created some really crisp lines. I don't know, I just look at this. It's so crispy. I don't know, I really like the way it turned out. Anyway, with the line art done, it was time to do the basic colors and then rendering. So for the basic colors, what I did, if I'm not mistaken, I color picked the coat, like the gray part of the coat, but just that, because I thought, well, if I want to, practice, I should also practice, train my eyes to pick the right colors and whatnot. And so the rest, I just looked at the reference and sort of picked the right color that I thought was right. And I think I did a good job, I think. It looks mostly like the original. And now it was time for the fun part, which is also the part that takes the longest. Was it fun? Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. some parts, not everything, as you'll see. Anyway, and now we could move on to the render. Okay, so when I started the render, I started with the coat, which was so nice. I had a lot of fun rendering clothes. I think it's the thing that I like the most. So I realized that I really like to render clothes. It's just really, I don't know, there's something really satisfying about getting in the shadows and the light in like the right places and like all the little, folds on the clothes. It was just really nice. The face was something that I was really scared of because, I don't know, I think in the past I have tried too much at once. Like too many brushes, and I think this is something that a lot of people do. In this illustration, all I used were 3 brushes, I think, which was the basic round brush, the watercolor wet brush in Medibang, and the edge pen. The edge pen I used for all the little details in the illustration. As you can see, there are a lot of like little pearls and just a lot of detail in the clothing. And I also, because the original apparently wasn't detailed enough, I decided to detail it even more. So I added some more things on the hat, right here. And I also added like little pearls on each one of the crisscrosses, like designs that the coat has, the edge of the coat has. So yeah, I just used those 3 brushes because the less the better, at least for me. There are way too many brushes out there. I don't need them all. So I just used those. With the watercolor wet, I did change the opacity of it from time to time because once again there's no pressure sensitivity, so I just had to manually change that. But it wasn't too much work. And I like this brush because it blends really well, like the colors. Now here's the thing, there's this one thing that I did in this illustration that I haven't really done before, and it just changes. It's such a simple detail, but it changes so much of the entire picture, which is putting light in the shadows. You don't necessarily make the shadows lighter, that's not it. You put a little bit of light into the darkest shadows. There's this video by Marco Bucci where he explains it like really well about shadows and lights and all of that. So I really, really recommend you watch that video. But shadows actually have a lot of color. And that's something that I never did. I just picked a darker color and boom, it's a shadow. But then on this, what I did was that I went over the darkest shadows in each one of the parts of the illustration with a light blue and with the watercolor wet brush with a very, very low opacity. And look at this, look at this detail on the face. This one right here, I think it's my favorite of the ones that I did because it's the part of the like shadow, but it also has like a little bit of light that just adds so much life to the picture. I don't know, it's really good. It's really good. So I did this not only with the face but also the coat, and on different places I mostly used the light blue just because there wasn't really any reason. I guess I went, like I saw a video of someone, I don't remember. If I find a video, I'm gonna put it here. But it basically said like to pick the opposite in the color wheel. So I was using a lot of warm colors. So I went for the opposite, which was blue, or like sort of in that bluish area. With all this done, it was time to face my biggest fear in this whole thing, which was the balls. Those little balls, there were so many little pearls, and I added even more. And this part, unlike the line art, which the line art took a long while, and it was something that I had to go over and over again to make sure it was, everything was fine, but this part was so tedious. So tedious, just doing the little pearls. It was so boring. And obviously I did not do every single one of them by hand. What I did was I rendered one of the pearls and then Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, right? Copy and paste. But just copy, paste, move to the right place, just doing that over and over again, I was so bored. My fingers were hurting. And it was just so boring. I never want to do this again. But after what felt like hours and hours of copy, paste, copy, paste, put it in the right place, move it around, copy, paste. After hours and hours of that, I was finally done. With the pearls, not the illustration. I still had a lot of golden things to render, and that drove me crazy almost. But anyway, I decided to do that another day after I finished the pearls. I was not having it, so I did that another day. I finished the golden sections of the piece, which was a lot of little shells, a lot of little things, but it was finally done. And after that, I just decided to move to the fun part, which is light, like the big chunks of light. When I did the hair, I also went over it later with a more saturated blue, because when you do things digitally, and I didn't know this until very recently, but when you mix stuff in the digital or like you make it lighter, it usually loses a lot of saturation, unlike in real life where there's pigment, right? So unfortunately, when you're doing things in like Medibang in this case, or Photoshop or Krita, any digital program, there are some other programs that have this stuff. Like, there are programs nowadays that mimic really well how paint interacts in real life, but usually those more used programs, you need to go over with the saturation and add in the saturation yourself. So I didn't really do this in any other part of the piece. I just did in the hair. I don't know why, but in the hair I just went over some parts with a very saturated blue, light blue, just to give it a little bit of, a little thing, whatever. And so the fun part began, which is the hard lighting. And so I did that in a layer that I set to add mode. Once again, just a normal brush, a normal round brush. I went over the edges because from the beginning I already knew where I wanted the light source to be. I wanted it to be from above and from behind, sort of. And so I just painted the edge of the coat on that very thick, very strong lighting. The details on the hat, the coral reefs, etc. I then added a layer that was set to multiply. With the light blue, I went over the whole silhouette, just to give it more cohesion. Is that a word? I don't know how to pronounce that. Just to make it everything sort of feel more together. There you go. So I set that to multiply. Then I added another layer in also add mode, and then I used the airbrush. It's a basic airbrush tool. I just went around the areas where the hard light was, just to give it a little bit more glow. I also did it on the eyes a little bit and on the jewelry. And then it was really strong. When you usually add layers that are set to add mode or multiply mode, it's usually very strong. So I always lower a lot, the opacity of the layers specifically. And I also added some light to the background, just to give it a little bit more. I didn't want the background just to be a solid color, so I just added some random little lights on top. And after all of that, I was finally done. This is one of the biggest illustrations that I've done to this day. The first of many, hopefully. And that's it. Play Twisted Wonderland.